Hey everyone, I hope you've had a great day so far and that you're doing well. For this video, we'll be going through a unboxing and review of Voyager class Tigatron. And this version of Tigatron is out of the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy, specifically the Kingdom part of the trilogy, although visually he has a lot of throwbacks to his original version in the 90s Transformers Beast Wars. Now, prior to this video, we've looked at 3 of the 7 Season 1 Maximals. We've looked at Rat Trap, Cheetor, and Air Razor. I did suggest at the end of the Air Razor video that this week would not be Tigatron. However, Tigatron actually arrived in the mail shortly after the video was recorded. So, here we are, Tigatron. Now, looking at the front of the box for Tigatron, this is actually the Takara Tomy version, which, to be honest, with the exception of the Japanese in certain places, you wouldn't really notice the difference. So packaging is pretty much the same. So we have Tigatron still with the plastic window there. Front of the box has Tigatron in his beast mode, and the side of the box still has an image of Tigatron in his robot mode. And there we go, he is a Voyager class. So even though this is a Takara Tomy version, there's not too much difference from what the Hasbro Western release would have been, other than down here, it would, well, when I say down here, down at the bottom of the box, it would have had the Hasbro logo instead of the Japanese text and the number it sat within the actual Kingdom release line. So that's the front of the box. In terms of the back of the box, bottom is definitely not the usual format that we're used to. Everything else, however, is still pretty much aligned to what we would expect. Tigatron in his robot mode, Tigatron in his beast mode, 23-step conversion. Looking at Tigatron's robot mode, I feel he will be an upsized Cheetor, which isn't too surprising with what Takara Tomy Hasbro have done in the past, looking at figures like Black Arachnia and Tarantulas. No, there was no resizing, but there was a lot of similarities in the later release. I think Tigatron was actually released after Cheetor, plus if he's KD14 it would make a little bit of sense. I also noticed that each of the releases has this faint little, I don't want to say hieroglyphic, but interesting painting marking on the back that's unique to each of them, which is interesting given Rise of the Beasts coming out later this year. I think in some of its early promotional images had similar type of images. Anyway, now that we've had a look at outside the box, I will open up the box and then we can have a better look at Tigatron and the inclusions. And with everything out of the packaging, so we have the usual manual. We have one Tigatron, 2 accessories, and the card. Now this particular card, first time we've seen this one, so this one is of Predacon Black Arachnia, with the usual golden disc image on the background. Now I completely forgot about what the actual gimmick of these cards were. So that's the Predacon Black Arachnia as we have known her traditionally. However, in a alternate timeline, she is Dark Arachnia. And I think this is in no part thanks to Unicron. So there you go. I completely forgot about these cards. So next ones I open, I'm going to have to do the same thing. But there you go. All you have to do is just lift off the sticker and you get to see an alternate timeline version of something. In this case, a dark version of Black Arachnia. So there you go. Good thing there's still 3 more to open. Hopefully there are 3 different cards and not the same one over and over again. So that is that. Interesting little collectible. Accessories we'll come back to. Tigatron we will come back to as well. As for the manual, so we do have the usual steps of how to equip his weapons. So I'll have his traditional blaster that we know and love back from the 90s. He'll also have a weird tail weapon, but okay, why not? Some of the steps going through his transformation. There are some items that are some artifacts from Cheetor. There are also going to be some that are distinct to Tigatron, but they do actually look good for a Voyager. And in fact, I feel its transformation is probably going to work better as a Voyager than Cheetor's did at the deluxe level. So, similar to Cheetor, his arms will tuck into his body, and then his front legs will come out of that. His robot legs will tuck away into his back legs, and become his beast mode legs. And yes, because they can, his tail is understandable, but he can also have his weapon attached to his underbelly in his beast mode, because once again, why not? I look forward to when I switch over the unboxing series in a few episodes time, where equipping weapons in a alt mode made sense. But there you go, that was the manual. Shouldn't be too bad later down the track. Tigatron, now before we get too carried away, accessories. So his main weapon with the weird brain looking textured back, which may or may not come into focus. There we go. So that's some of the detailing that is on his main weapon. And yes, the weird brain looking look. Don't know why. So that will go into his hand quite neatly. So there's that. And then his tail will be a weapon as well. And that will go into his other hand like so. And that is Tigatron equipped with both his weapons. Now, doesn't look like either weapon will store away neatly in his robot mode, which is unfortunate. His tail maybe. It's going to be one of those weird ones where you should do it the other way. Yeah, it's actually going to be a weird one that his tail doesn't really store away nicely, but yeah, that was his 2 weapons. His tail we'll see again in his robot mode, not his robot mode, his beast mode, because it will be part of his beast mode, and I will do a quick look at this attached to his underbelly. But those are those, putting them away for the time being. So, Tigatron. This is actually going to be, I think, the first time I've actually owned a Tigatron figure. Tiger Hawk is excluded. So here is the front of Tigatron. Look from his side. His back. Now I've actually done this folding up of his legs after taking him out of the box. His legs were pretty much more straight outwards, similar to what Cheetor has with his. Other side, bit of a angle. Close up on some of the sculpting details on his head, which looks really, really cool, as well as his beast mode head. Now, I don't know where his Maximal logo is. I feel like it would have been on his head. but there you go. Anyway, in terms of colors, so Tigatron is predominantly a type of white with some of this, is it teal coloring coming through, which does look very nice. Some of it, like on his waist, his shoulders, is more of a flat, whilst on his shins and his face it is more of a metallicized color of it. I do like how his actual eyes are also in a nice red, so that is very cool. And he does have bits of his beast mode coming through, especially on his back, so you will have the black stripes coming through, and there will be some offset of off-white ivory in certain places as well. So that's a look at the colors of Tigatron as well as a faux 360. So he's looking really, really good. And I think robot mode wise, at the Voyager level, proportions wise, he looks really good, especially with his torso area. I thought Cheetor felt a little bit thin in the main torso. Articulation. So Tigatron's head will do a nice 360, but it won't have much movement thereafter, so you can't really look up, look down, which is unfortunate. So you can definitely look to the sides, you can definitely spin his head around, but yeah, there won't be any upping and downing of his head, unfortunately. Now his little shoulder tab things can push out to the back ever so slightly. I guess if I move his legs, well, his beast mode legs down a bit more, I can do that. However, that still will not save him from being able to do a 360 from around. So obviously if I do that with his arm will ultimately collide with that shoulder panel. So he won't be able to do a 360 in that regard, but he can do a 360 at the shoulder like that. Or maybe, yep, he can, albeit with a bit of difficulty. So he can definitely do that. He will be able to do a 360 just up here at the upper arm, thanks to this joint here. Actually, I'm quite glad that his joints are quite stiff. That's a bit of a relief. He will have a very solid elbow bend. It will definitely go all the way forward, and he can touch his own shoulder. And in terms of the reverse, not really. I mean, you can definitely pull his arm out like that. So he's got a bit of a 2-degree elbow. Just one up here and then one down here. So that's actually quite good. So he can do that with his forearm, which is very nice. And then lastly, he has full rotation in his wrist. So in terms of his arms, they're definitely following the Cheetor syndrome, at least with the shoulders. But in saying that, because he's a Voyager and there's a little bit more space to play with, I think he does have more flexibility to move his arms than Cheetor did, which is good. And he also doesn't have a lot of that kibbling that stood out as much. I mean, yes, he will have some in his back that will form his beast mode underbelly, but it's a lot neater. And speaking of kibbling, he will have his forward front legs from his beast mode out here in the back, but like Cheetor, they can be neatly folded away, but they will be there, but they're relatively secure, so it will take a little bit of effort to move them around. So head we've looked at, arms, talked a little bit about the kibbling, which overall isn't too bad. He will be able to do a full 360 at his waist, which is very cool. And then just maybe lock in some of his torso again. Now I'm going to do some weird fisticuff motions with Tigatron, because in terms of his legs, so he can do the full splits. There will be rotation in his waist area. Won't go through all of it, but I would dare say it's enough. He'll definitely have a 360 at his upper leg, which is good. In terms of his legs though, so we know that they can go all the way to the side. It'll definitely go all the way to the front. In terms of the back, if you were to raise his tail, quote unquote, skirt up, his leg will go all the way that far. In terms of his knee, so he has a little bit of a forward knee bend, probably about 45 degrees, and a 90-degree knee bend towards the back. I will admit his beast mode legs do hide much more nicely in his robot mode than they do Cheetor. And as for his feet, so they can move forward, can move back, but there won't be any side to side. I will admit though, it is very nice that they have this little extra piece at the back just to give an actual ankle stability joint. So standing for Tigatron really will be no challenge whatsoever. So if I was to stand him up now, granted looking down on Tigatron, that's him standing up on his own 2 feet, no issues whatsoever. So articulation overall isn't too bad. A lot of it is rinse and repeat from Cheetor, but because he is of a larger class, it does actually feel a little bit better. Like his arms actually feel a lot better. It's unfortunate about the shoulder area, and his legs do seem to work out a lot better at a somewhat larger scale. So he is still technically big cat to Cheetor's little cat, and I think that'll always be the case, but it definitely feels optimized as a Voyager. So now that we've looked at Tigatron's robot mode, I will perform the 23 steps transformation. Then we can have a quick look at his beast mode, and then I can do some final thoughts regarding Tigatron. And with Tigatron now in his beast mode. So quick look at his beast mode before we get too carried away. Now I have attached his weapon to his underbelly, and as expected, yes, looks weird, no doubt about it. His tail's also been attached as well, so that's just a quick look of Tigatron in his beast mode with his weapon attached, because he's got these 2 ports on his underbelly. You can easily put that into his other one. It will look off center, but once again, yeah, weird is probably how I'm going to describe that. So that's that now detached and into a much more natural looking pose. So Tigatron from the front, the side, which we have now seen a few times, from the rear, top down, bottom up, bit of a side angle, and just to prove that yes, he can also stand on his own 4 paws, which I will have a bit of commentary on shortly. Now in terms of colors, so pretty much a lot of that white is now coming through. The black striping is much more apparent now, given that the beast mode is around everything as opposed to being tucked away on the back and sides. And we do have that off-white as well in the lower back, tail, some of the sides of the back legs, the bottom of the front legs, and a little bit in the sides of his, it's obviously not a mane, but in his facial area. we do have some of that teal still coming through, which really can't do much about that, but it's okay. It's not too bad. In terms of articulation, now there won't be too much. The head isn't going to move, but Tigatron's jaw can go all the way open and then close again, so it is kind of cool that we do have that. And there is some detailing in there for an actual top and bottom array of teeth and a tongue even, so spared no expense to detailing his mouth. In terms of other areas of articulation, tail can pretty much just go side to side like that because of the join, but it does make it look a little bit weird, so don't expect to do too much with tail, similar to Cheetor in fact. In terms of his in terms of his front legs, I'll just do one of them. So the leg can go all the way around, which is cool. There will be a bit of a elbow bend, so it can go all the way to the front, all the way to the back like that. There will be a secondary bend in here, so the paws can go all the way up like that, and all the way to the back like that. And there will also be a small ball socket in there as well. It's actually not too bad in terms of the articulation in the two front legs, but what I find is, and it could just be me because it's the first time opening, is that when trying to do something with his paws, granted it's probably difficult to see right now because Tigatron's upper body's in the way, the paws just don't feel like they sit flat on the surface. Cheetor's feet actually did feel like they sat flat, but these ones not so much. Granted, they do have some actual degree of detailing there, which is quite nice, but I think part of that has caused some of the oddity with trying to keep the feet flat when posing him on his forelegs, because I do like to just try and flatten down the feet. But it's a minor thing, but it is nice to have some more of that articulation in the front legs. It's definitely a bit more than what Cheetor had. I think Cheetor only had the 1, 2, so Tigatron has an extra one. In terms of Tigatron's back legs, because they're also his robot legs, I mean, technically they can go all the way to the back like that, can go in like that, so that's just up here. I mean, you can go all the way out as well, but that just looks very weird and bizarre. But then so is going all the way back like that. So that's, well, that's still technically the hip, so the knee of sorts. There is another here as well, so the lower part of the leg can go all the way like that. It will start to push out his feet, similar to Cheetor. His robot feet just tuck into that thigh area, but that back leg can also go all the way out like that as well. It will also have a ball socket here, just at the actual ankle of the paw itself, and I think there's also, similar to the front, just that extra part of movement as well, so it's definitely nice to have it, but I think it's a little bit wasted on the back legs. But in saying that, it's also in a way nice that the shins of the robot mode actually just help keep those two back paws somewhat in a decent angle. But yes, those paws can do all sorts of weird and interesting things if you wanted to, so it's definitely some of the articulation that is possible within the beast mode, but some of it does start to move on to the somewhat odd and bizarre side of things. So that is a look at Tigatron's Beast mode. In terms of the transformation, it was actually not too bad at all. It does feel like it's not a perfect upscale version of Cheetor, but there's definitely a lot of callbacks to Cheetor's transformation, and as I suspected, it does actually work quite nicely at the Voyager class scale. Like the arms very nicely tab in to the side panels, which is really cool. And this is alone very nice. The legs are pretty much the same as Cheetor, right down to the robot feet still sticking out of the thigh area. The front legs are still the same, and the head and the beast mode head, they're not exactly the same, but there's definitely been some inspiration there. But I think overall the transformation for Tigatron was a lot more intuitive and fluidic than that of Cheetor. Anything else before I move on to my final thoughts? So we've looked at the colors, we looked at the limited articulation, we've had a look at the gun attached to the bottom, which still makes no sense. Okay, so Tigatron, you can just go there, and I'll bring back your manual. So, final thoughts on Voyager class Tigatron. Robot mode. Definitely taken some of the sizing constraints of Cheetor and improved upon them by putting them into a Voyager. So it definitely feels nicer in the shoulder area. The arms felt a lot nicer. Overall, his robot mode I think has just been pretty much more favorably enhanced because it's a Voyager class. It still has some of the weaknesses that the Cheetor mold has, predominantly just some of the loss in the articulation in the upper shoulder because of the shoulder pauldron of some description. But that's neither here or there. Everything else is actually pretty good. It does feel a lot better. Still don't know why he's been given a tail weapon, but I think that becomes the running theme. But I will admit, it's very nice that he was given his ranged weapon. I don't know why Cheetor wasn't, but it is what it is. So robot mode, I think, has done Tigatron a good amount of justice, but he does share some limitations as the Cheetor mold. As for his beast mode I think is actually looking quite good. I think size wise it does work quite well at the Voyager, plus Tigatron traditionally was one of the taller Maximals compared to some of the others, Rattrap naturally being the shortest. The only real grievance I have is just the paws themselves. I think the detailing on the underside is quite nice. It's nice that they kind of added in Tigatron's beans, but it does feel a little bit weird trying to make him a bit flat-footed. But in saying that, given the ball socket and that extra little upper ankle bend as well, can potentially also mean he can do some more interesting feet poses than what Cheetor is capable of. Everything else for the beast mode quite good. Colors are on par, and I think proportions wise actually do look a lot better, especially if you look at him side on compared to Cheetor. Transformation I thought worked a lot better for Tigatron than it does Cheetor. Things tabbed in very nicely, especially with the upper arms as I mentioned earlier, and the legs were pretty much the same, so it's still very much a similar level of transformation as Cheetor. So if you've done Cheetor, you can pretty much do Tigatron without the manual and vice versa. Would I recommend Voyager class Tigatron? I actually would. It's my first time really having a Tigatron toy. I did miss out on the original 90s one, but I would definitely say they've done quite well at creating a modernized take on Tigatron. Granted, it is for Kingdom, but it actually does work quite well. So if you're definitely a fan of Tigatron, the Maximal team, Beast Wars, etc., definitely a welcome addition to the collection. I do look forward to doing some future picture sets and hopefully some future shorts with Tigatron with some of the others. I know I'll do the general Maximal team one, but I think Tigatron will probably be worthwhile having a few extra shorts with the likes of Cheetor and Air Razor. I think it'd be really, really cool to do those. So yes, definitely solid Voyager class figure. And yeah, definitely happy to have a copy of Tigatron for the collection. So that brings us to an end of the unboxing and review of Deluxe Class Tigatron. Definitely been a all-around solid figure. Not without its faults, but definitely a very solid and robust figure. Accessories are good, transformation, general looks, everything definitely where it needs to be. So a very solid representation of Tigatron. Thank you very much for watching this unboxing and review video. Feel free to leave a like, a comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. All of this does help support the channel and I do greatly appreciate it. Extra content can also be found in my Instagram account, link below, and I'll also have some parallel content in the YouTube community tab, a few shorts both here on YouTube and a Instagram reel, with the only difference being the backtrack, just because of YouTube and Instagram having differences of opinion when it comes to background music. Haven't decided who is next week's video. Given that Tigatron has now been done, it does leave Dinobot, Rhinox and Optimus Primal. I'll see how I feel. It'll obviously be one of the three. And I'll just try and put that preview trailer, well, preview image into the community tab a day or two, or hopefully 2 days beforehand, just to give everyone the heads up. With that being said, stay safe and take care. And I will catch you all in next week's video if you're here for the Transformers content. Otherwise, I'll see you in some other content on the channel.